to another Thursday rental rescue show. You know me, I'm Christopher Barrow. This is the one and only, the lovely Darcy Barrow, DAB for short. And we are the Landlord Code, and we also are Foundation Homes Property Management. And today we're going to get into a great topic that I think it doesn't get addressed often enough, and it's going to really hit on a lot of fronts. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So we get a lot of inquiries, obviously, through Foundation Homes Property Management when clients come to us and they are turning their home into a rental for the first time. They are accidental landlords. That's how it's known in the industry. And this would mean that you have lived in this home. Maybe you've raised your family here. It's been your primary residence. But one reason or another is driving you to convert this primary residence into a rental. Sometimes it's for short term, sometimes it's for long term. Or we get clients who are between tenancies, maybe who've been DIYing it themselves. They're dipping their toe into what it might look like to work with a property management company. So they're coming to us asking questions. So either way, whether you're between tenants or this is a brand new rental or maybe a brand new purchased rental, that would be the third one. There are steps that we take within our company to help make sure our clients are set up for success. And we have noticed that in the DIY world, a lot of people just skip and blow right over these steps. So today we're going to talk about the 3 steps that you want to take when you are converting your home into a rental, purchasing a new rental, or if you are between tenancies and tightening up the ship.
And I think these are not just 3 steps, they're the 3 insider steps from people who've been there and done that and seen it. Just a little background about Darcy and I. We didn't just come out of the womb or jump into the real estate market knowing everything, although she might think that.
Well, that's the Alcus in me.
That's Alcus in here. But we didn't know everything. And actually it was a long, tough road of us learning and getting kind of beat up along the way.
Well, I think the term we like to use when we talk about our DRE audit was the spanking.
Yeah, I got spanked a little bit. That's an HR violation. Got spanked a little bit on the way up. I mean, costing us over $100,000 in a DRE audit. And you know, also for DIY landlords who don't actually own a property management company, the simple fact of getting to the end of the year with a martini in hand, looking at what we'd have to pay in taxes, looking at all this stuff and going, oh my gosh, I did all this work and I don't have anything to show for it. I'm going to pour another drink and another drink, and, you know, drown your sorrows until you get back to a place of like, okay, I'm calmed down. I can address this and create a plan around it. So that's what
question. Can I still have the drink even if I do have a plan?
You do. You can have a drink and you can have better alcohol with the plan.
Okay,
so
I like that.
There you go.
Okay.
So that's where we're coming from, and we want to let you know you're not alone, and it's not your fault, because oftentimes you get into this with the best of intentions. Hey, I read a book. I've seen my neighbor down the street's making a ton of money in investment real estate, but they'd only tell you half the story. There's a lot to learn about the nuances of managing your property like a business, which is why we're here today. And we're going to give you those 3 insider tips about evaluating your home for rental. So let's start, just to jump into it.
Okay, and I think I'm going to sneeze.
Okay, well, number one.
Allergies are crazy.
Number one, the first thing you need to think about, and this is sort of a mindset thing, but analyze what is the result that you want. And this is going to vary based on the type of rental property that you're going to start off with. So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
So most clients or prospective clients coming to us for the first time think the questions they should be asking are, what's my home worth? How much does property management cost, right? Those are kind of like the top questions that come to mind. But here's what we coach our clients to be asking. What are the results that you really want? If we forget about all the immediate questions, what are you really trying to accomplish by purchasing this rental, turning this home into a rental, or continuing to have this as a rental? What will leasing this home make possible for you and your family? This is the first thing that we want you to answer and really think about. If you haven't thought about it before, let's talk about it now.
Let's talk about it now.
What's this going to make possible for you?
So sometimes people are like, hey, you know what? I want to rent my property out because I'm going to go to Hawaii, or I'm going to go to Europe for a year or two. And I want to come back home. I don't want to just sell this thing. This is not going to be a permanent rental. It's my house. I intend on coming back on it. So, you know, that's a great thing. And the idea behind that type of scenario is if you haven't owned your home for 50 years and you haven't paid it off already, this is just an opportunity for you to do what you want to do in Europe or Hawaii or wherever you're going to go without having this albatross on your books and a non-performing asset where your property is just spending your money and limiting what you can do on the other hand. So by getting a tenant in place, you're able to have someone not only keep the health up by using the certain systems inside the property, but also offsetting your costs considerably to enable you to come back to your property down the road.
Right. So that's a common example we see of people who come to us because they're looking to go do something else. Sometimes they're just moving across different states. You might be looking at different business ventures. It's not the right time to sell, but there's a reason why this home is potentially only going to be a rental for a certain period of time. So that's one set. But another set of results that you might be looking at is the more common investor. We're in it for the long haul. We're in it for wealth building. We're in it because we want to have something for legacy. We want to pass on to our children.
Yep.
We are looking at ROI and we want to know, how can we get the most? How can we maximize this asset? That's kind of your more typical investor class. And that would be a different set of results than the homeowner who is looking to leverage the home in another way that still has some kind of personal or like emotional value actually to the home itself.
Absolutely. And for those folks, a lot of times those the new investor clients are people who have either outgrown or are downsizing into a different property. So they're outgrowing because their family got bigger, or they just decided to keep this house and they're getting a bigger house, or they're downsizing because they've had this big house, their kids are out, now they have this thing and they can afford to have it rented, and it's great. It's a good money maker for them.
Okay, so step one,
know your result.
Know your results. Okay, does this make sense? First thing in, you're going to figure out what your end result is.
Okay, and step two is, what do you need to fix up? What do you need to do this property to get that result? Right? What assess it? What are you going to do?
So the common mistake that we see landlords make here, no matter how experienced the investor is people come at it with a scarcity mindset. They want to spend as little as possible. They don't think about this rental property as a business. And as such, if you approach it that way, you're then coming from this place of scarcity and this place not of abundance with this rental, and not realizing what's possible with this rental. So your decisions are then going to be guided by that, and your results are going to be guided by that same scarcity mindset. And you will not have the same results as someone who approaches this from the, what do I need to do? What do I need to put into this business, my rental, to get the results that we just talked about in step one?
And so the scarcity sort of hides itself in the phrase of, let's make a deal, or how can I get that for less? That's how scarcity mindset sort of enters the equation. And oftentimes it's not the best way to look. You don't want to minimize the costs associated with getting your property up and running. It's the same thing if you were just to put 4 bolts on the wheel of on the tire of your car, expecting it to be able to go 70 miles per hour. The wheels are likely going to fall off at some point.
I think we did have like a little, what do you call them, lug nut fall off in our driveway.
I did have a lug nut after taking it to a professional service. That was a little bit disappointing. That was a disappointing experience. But we don't want you to have that experience.
We do not.
No. So making strategic investments, not spending your entire life savings on your property, but making strategic investments into your house to ensure that not only it can perform well from an ROI perspective, but also minimize tenant calls or maintenance issues down the road. So
let's give a couple examples here of what we're talking about, right? So if your result, let's say you're the long-term investor, right? You've got the rich dad, poor dad dream. You're going to be toes in the sand.
Shout out to Robert Kiyosaki. Right. There you go.
Pina colada in hand. This is your retirement. This is your side hustle. You were going to pass this on to kids. You're in it for the long haul, right? So you want to be talking about ROI. So you want the maximum rent, right? Well, if you follow us, if you followed any of our other teachings, you know that we teach garbage in, garbage out. Quality products attract quality tenants, and a quality tenant is the #1 way you are going to get the best return on this property. So what does this mean? This means your strategy in step 2 is to think about, how do I get these results I want from step 1? If I want top dollar, then I'm going to need to look at top finishes. Now, does this mean you got to put in like the Sub-Zero fridge every time? No, it doesn't. But it means you need to be using on-trend, modern finishes that are going to attract these very well qualified tenants. And you need to be smart about it. You need to choose finishes that are durable. You're not putting marble in places because marble is going to get water stains on it. Right?
And some of the mindset, again, this is not your fault, but some of this mindset that a lot of DIY landlords come into with, like, how can I cheap out on finishes or preparing my property, stems from the fact that that's all you know. Right. You haven't been in property management. Oftentimes your foundational knowledge is built on the time that you went to college and you rented an apartment for the first time, and you lived in something that was really cheap and falling apart.
Probably carpet that had been there 10 years.
Exactly.
Might have had a few layers of college.
It had a smell. It had a certain. Everybody knows that college apartment smell.
Yeah.
Always had that smell. Everybody. It's like you can walk in like, oh, I know where I'm at. So that's your like sort of your frame of reference for how to run an investment property. And that's cool if you've got 20 units in an apartment building, but if you're renting out a single family home in your area, you're looking the families or the people who will be renting that property are going to spend more money than they would on an apartment. So have a higher expectation. And also there's more things going on system wise inside of a house than inside of an apartment. Just putting that out there.
Yes.
And go ahead.
So when you're thinking about your strategy, that's the long-term investor. But another just real quick example is if you're that homeowner who's going to be renting your home for a slice of time, right? Maybe you're not sure if you're going to sell it, so it's just going to be a rental for a year or two, or maybe you're moving back, or maybe, I don't know, you've got a plan to pass it to a family member. We see a lot of different scenarios. Maybe it's a divorce and things are still shaken out a little bit, right? There are a lot of times.
Is divorce on the table?
Is the divorce always on the table?
Okay. Well,
there are a lot of times.
It is today.
When you think about the long-term investor, you're going to make different decisions than if you're a short-term investor, right? And so when new prospective clients come to us, these are the types of things we're trying to extract out of you. What results do you want? What strategy do we need to help you set up so that you can achieve these results? And it can come down also to things like how aggressively your pricing will match up with what your results are, or like if you're planning on listing the home for sale, well, that's going to affect the lease term that we're going to recommend for you, because we're going to try to put it on the top cycle for sales versus the top cycle for rentals, which might be slightly different. And if you're renting it furnished or talking about renting it, that's a totally different game. So step 2 is you want to think about your strategy, all these moving pieces. What are the elements that I need? What strategic elements do I need to think about to accomplish my results that I have outlined?
Is this making sense for you? So it's sort of like a full global 20,000 foot perspective of what you're going to do with your property. So you take yourself out of it, you get in a drone, and you look down, you see what's going to happen. Okay.
Right. And again, the knee-jerk reaction for most people is just to ask, is the number one question we get when people call us, what's my home worth and what do you cost, right? You should not be asking those questions until you've asked yourself, one, and then step number 2 about the strategy. Now, we happen to excel in the strategy. That's what we've lived and breathed for the last 16 years in this business.
And the whole frame we want you to think about this is that this is not it's not a rental property. This is a business. So businesses take money to run, they take investments to run well, and ultimately those investments pay off in the long term if you've done them strategically and thought about it.
Right.
So number 3.
Well, it teases us up nicely for number 3, which is it takes a team.
Takes a team.
Just like a business, it takes a team.
And landlording, like my marriage, can oftentimes be very lonely.
Oh, burn.
Ice, burn.
Burn.
Feel that?
He says right before our 21-year anniversary this month.
Oh, that's coming up.
Yeah, you got a plan? You got a plan?
I always have a plan. I have an escape plan. All right. So it can be very lonely, and there's not a lot of information that's, there's not a lot of quality information out there for landlords getting into it for the first time. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of people who are doing it, and they're doing it well. They're super excited. They got all these great things happening in their life, but they never tell you about what it felt like when it started and all of that, all the things that they went through. And there is certainly a learning curve.
What everyone talks about is coaching prospective investors to cross that finish line for the first time, to just acquire the property, right? Again, you look at the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you look at the Bigger Pockets, a lot of the landlording podcasts out there, right? They're about how do I leverage myself? How do I acquire this asset? If you're watching us today, well, you probably already have the asset, all right? Congratulations. That's more than like most people out there have done. You're already partly living the dream. But here's the part nobody talks about. And this is like the heavier part. If acquiring the property,
it's not even sexy.
Yeah,
this
is not the sexy part. This is not the exciting part, but this is the part where you make your money. It's how you manage the property and what's the team that you are setting up to help you run this business. So we like to kind of use a sports metaphor here, a coaching metaphor.
All right.
That you're setting up team landlord.
I'm ready.
Right?
I'm ready.
You're
Go
ready
for it. Yeah.
You're setting up team landlord, right? You're the coach, or you could even look at yourself as the what do you call him?
The owner,
the
general
owner,
manager,
the team owner, the guy in the skybox and his wife.
Okay, let me use it. So just a frame of reference for the Darcy sports analogy. She used to think a 3-point shot is when it's swished versus there's that line. Just so you know,
it makes sense.
Well, let's look at it from this perspective. Like you're the CEO of your business. and you are hiring the team to make sure that your business functions so you can be insulated but involved in everything that goes on in your property. You can delegate, you can be the visionary for how your property operates, and you tell the people down below, hey, this is the vision I have, this is what I want to execute, and this is the type of money I want to expect to get back from that, from my investment. And so they go out there and they do that for you, right?
So here's the team we're talking about. We're talking about having your CPA, having a CPA who is specialized in working with investors in whatever states, if you're going to be having a different residency state, who's specialized in that and can help you maximize your write-offs and understand your tax strategy.
It's super important.
Yeah, we're talking,
very important.
Yeah. And for our local clients, we do have a great reference for you if you need someone. We're talking about working with the right insurance provider who understands landlord tenant insurance and can suggest different risk policies for you. And depending on your financial makeup and your assets, not every policy is right for the right person. Some people, it actually doesn't, you have so many assets, it doesn't even make sense to get a landlord policy or certain umbrella policies. So you need an insurance agent who understands how to protect you as a landlord. If you need a reference locally, we also have 2 or 3 great landlord insurance brokers who we can connect you with.
And then like the nitty gritty stuff is, what's your maintenance team look like? Mm-hmm. Do you have plumbers, electricians? Do you have people that you can call that you trust and know
that are licensed and insured?
Are you going to consider scrambling the internet and looking for, Bob's business of plumbing and heating to come over to your property when he feels it's convenient?
And then you have a slip and fall accident, and it turns out not only does he not have workers' comp, but he was hiring unlicensed guys. There's nothing, and guess who's paying for this slip and fall now? You, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord. Exactly. And guess who may or may not be covered depending on what policy they had? That would be you, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord. So you need to set up, like you're approaching a business, you need to set up all these players. Other players on this team, obviously, would be your property management team, Absolutely. Your leasing agents. And if you're doing it yourself, how are you handling screening? Who's your screening provider? Where are you getting your contracts from? No matter what state you are operating in, there are changes every year to the legislation that affect landlord tenant law. And if you don't use the latest contract, or you worse, Google and pick it from around the internet, or write your own and don't have it reviewed, and there's a violation in there, and something happens at your property,
it's going to cost you a lot of money.
It doesn't matter what your insurance is. If you were something that was in violation of the law, you are looking at serious lawsuits. And depending how you set up the protection around your property, there could be big trouble there. But you can avoid this by going with either a reputable property management company, and we're not all the same, not everyone's using up-to-date contracts, or making sure you're purchasing the up-to-date contract if you're doing it DIY.
And the other thing too is how are you positioning yourself to make the most money on your rental? Are you pricing your property based on looking on Craigslist or Zillow, or what Bob down the street, and Bob is going to come back into this conversation, but what Bob down the street says it's worth, or what your neighbors think it's worth? Because if you're doing that, you're probably leaving a ton of money on the table, not just in terms of rental rate, but vacancy. And guess what vacancy is? We're going to drive this home. What is vacancy?
The number one
secret ROI killer. Yeah. And we see it happen all the time.
So your pricing partner would be, are you working with a leasing agent? Are you working with a realtor? Or what other tool are you using? If you're DIY, what tool are you using for pricing your property? Because if you're just looking at what's on Zillow or what's on Craigslist, that's what people are asking. What are people actually getting? And there are a number of nationwide tools you can use where you can enter your address and they'll give you a write-up. So that can be really helpful, but just keep in mind where your data comes from, because what you want is comps. So that would be your partner for helping you figure out about pricing. So in the landlord code, in the course that we have coming very soon, we walk you through all of this. So we've got tools, we've got our worksheet. We're going to walk you through your emergency vendor planning. We're going to let you know, it's a great little sheet where you figure out who do you need to know, you fill it out in advance. So when that emergency comes, if you're a DIY landlord, you've got your resources. Obviously, if you're working with a PM company, you don't need that. But that is a resource we're going to have available through the landlord code to help to give you a worksheet, to help to help you
get through
work through these things.
So there's a thing called luck. People talk about luck. And what is luck? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And part of the landlord code course is to make sure that you are prepared. So when that opportunity does come up, you'll be able to take advantage of. And you will not be known as Bob the landlord. You'll be known as Larry the lucky landlord out there. We should trademark
Larry
that.
The lucky landlord.
Larry the lucky landlord. So people will look at you and say, wow, this person is making so much money from the rental. It just looks so easy. what you will have known is that, hey, I put in the work, I educated myself, I know the details, I know what to anticipate. And when things do start falling apart or things start to break, I know how to fix them in a way that makes sense and that's sustainable.
Right. So, in summary, today, the first thing you're going to do is ask yourself, what are the results that I want? The second thing you're going to do is, what's my strategy? What is the strategy? What are the things I need to think about to help me get these results? And step number 3
is, how do I avoid being lonely and get myself the best partners out there and the best team to help me out?
You're building team landlord.
Exactly.
So these 3 things need to be done before you start even asking yourself, what's my property worth? What am I paying for the various vendors who I'm helping? You need to know who you're plugging in or what holes you need to fill in your team. You need to have your strategy and your outline in place before you start asking those questions.
And one more thing I just want to throw out at you is that when you start thinking about costs, maybe reverse that a little bit and think about the investment for you to live the life that you ultimately want, to get the results that you'll ultimately want, to be on the beach with your cocktails, hanging out with Robert T. Kiyosaki.
So I know when we talk about this stuff, sometimes it overwhelms people, right? We throw off a lot of scenarios that we've seen. Obviously, with having seen thousands of properties, we've rented over $1 billion worth of properties, less than 1% eviction rate. We've kind of seen it all. We know it can be overwhelming when we come at you also because I talk like a million miles an hour. But here's what we want you to take away. You can do this. You can be a landlord. You can be successful. You can be Larry the cable guy.
No, Larry the lucky landlord. All right,
Larry the lucky
2 different people.
If you follow the steps, if you have the playbook, if you follow the processes and the teachings that we outline for you, whether it's working with us as Foundation Homes Property Management or learning to be a DIY landlord through the Landlord Code or any other, don't work with us, work with someone else, but do something. Either you hire a pro or you teach yourself how to do it, but there is no in between. And when you fall in the in between, which sadly is where most people fall, that's where you start to hear all these stories. I can't believe my tenant did this. I lost that. And before you know it, people are running for the hills, selling these investments that could have made them tons of money in a buy and hold strategy, but they tapped out because they didn't know.
That's right. So, well, we appreciate you guys coming out today. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, take care.
And we've got a few links I think Sheila's going to drop on the bottom. Also, if you're interested in learning more about us for our brick and mortar company, Foundation Homes Property Management, we've got the URL there.
Oh, there you go.
If you're interested in learning more about our teachings for DIY landlords or even learning how to manage your property manager better, you can catch us at the Landlord Code. We've got our products coming very, very soon. We're excited about. We do have a quick request for you. If we've provided any value, if we've taught you anything today, we do have a quick feedback link. It takes 1 to 2 minutes or less to complete it. We send you a $10 Starbucks gift certificate in email just as a thank you for completing that. And coming hopefully by next week, I think we are going to be announcing, we're super excited about this, our summer series lineup. Ooh. So we have got an awesome lineup complete with experts and some VIP opportunities for you coming this summer, all the way starting in June, all the way through August. That's going to be here at the Rental Rescue Show every Thursday, 11 a.m. So we hope to see you then.
All right, take care, everybody.